Search the cabin! It's here! It's here! That's not it! Yeah!
Hey, I'm Baz, filmmaker, dad, and the guy behind 20-Minute Gamer. If you're anything like me, you don't have hours and hours to sink into every game, and that's why I test whether a game can hook you in just those first 20 minutes. Today, I'm saddling up for a game that I haven't played since the mid-2000s, Gun. Originally released on PS2, I'm playing it on Steam in 2025, and while I only played through it once back in the day, my lasting memory was that it was just fun. I remember Gun having a good story, great music, and fast, engaging gameplay. That said, it's been nearly 20 years, and now that I've played Red Dead Redemption 2, which raised the bar to cinematic levels, I was curious, does Gun still hold up, or is it a dusty relic best left in the saddlebag? Gun was developed by Neversoft, best known at the time for the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater series. A bit of a genre jump really. Published by Activision in 2005, Gun arrived right before the open world western genre exploded. It was released across multiple platforms including PS2, Xbox, GameCube and PC. It was even a launch title for the Xbox 360. It was praised for its voice acting, story and ambition, but also criticised for being short and a little rough around the edges. In many ways, it was the spiritual precursor to Red Dead Revolver and later Red Dead Redemption. But back in 2005, this was one of the best westerns you could get your hands on. Story.
Gotta find Sadie. It's too late. That preacher killed her. Son of a bitch is leading the ambush.
Son, listen close, because there ain't much time.
If you're new to the channel, you'll know that I skip most cutscenes, not because I don't care about the story, but because I only give myself 20 minutes to see what a game has to offer. That said, Gun opens with a fairly cinematic setup. You're a young hunter out with an older man, potentially your father or a mentor. After some banter and target practice, things escalate pretty quickly. You're on a paddle steamer which is suddenly under attack. Cue a very explosive action sequence complete with cannon fire, enemies swarming the deck, and the ship going up in flames. After surviving that, you're dropped straight into another tutorial, this time for horse riding. There's not much story conveyed in the gameplay outside those cutscenes really. You're learning the ropes more than progressing any real narrative. I can't fault the game too harshly here. It's from a time when story was usually fed to you in chunks between action scenes, but I'll be honest, if you do skip the cinematics you won't have much of a clue what's going on. I personally think that the best games can give you the story in subtle environmental ways, and something like this doesn't really do that. Score, 5 out of 10. Controls. Playing on Steam with mouse and keyboard, Gun feels mostly like what you'd expect from a 2005 third-person shooter. The aiming is responsive once you sort the sensitivity, which, when I first loaded up, was set to hyperspeed, just like I'd snorted gunpowder. Combat is snappy and arcadey. The quick draw slow motion mechanic is surprisingly good fun. You tap into this bullet time mode, mark your targets, and unleash a flurry of gunfire like you're starring in your own Clint Eastwood fantasy. Where things fall down a little bit for me was the horse riding. It's just weird. You tap shift to speed up, but then you're also holding shift to maintain the speed. It's not intuitive, and I found the race section later on borderline infuriating. Otherwise, it's all solid. Clunky by modern standards, sure, but definitely playable. Score, 7 out of 10. Atmosphere.
Use your sights to get a closer look.
We're gonna need to bag these tools you've got.
Here's the thing, if you go into Gun expecting Red Dead Redemption 2, you're going to be disappointed. But if you remind yourself that this game came out 2 console generations earlier, you'll find it's doing a lot with what it has. From the sweeping soundtrack to the dusty environments, it captures that Wild West energy. It's more arcade shootout than gritty Western realism, but that's not a bad thing. Sometimes it's nice not to have to skin a rabbit and cook beans over a fire before you get to shoot something. The game's world is stylized and slightly over the top, but it really works. I felt like a cowboy, and I don't say that lightly. Music and sound. The music here is absolutely amazing. Right from the main menu, you know you're in for something special. It's big, cinematic, and epic in the best possible way. The composer was Christopher Lennertz, who's since gone on to score The Boys and Mass Effect 3, and you can absolutely hear that pedigree. I've always been a fan of his work, and here is no exception. There were 2 outstanding tracks for me. One was the main menu theme, which has that Western vibe all over it. and the other was when the action music kicked in on the steamboat. It was really, really intense, and it really just added to the package.
Shit, that hurts. I winged the son of a bitch.
Hey, Evans, we're moving again.
Voice acting is top-notch too. Everyone sounds gruff, grizzled, and western without slipping into parody.
I've done my best to raise you right, but all your life I've been lying to you.
Even the tutorial lines are very well delivered.
Go ahead, kid. Stick your toes in the stirrups.
Sound effects are chunky and satisfying. Gunfire rings out with proper weight, and the headshot sound gives you that little dopamine hit every time. This is an area where Gun really outperforms expectations. Score, 8 out of 10. Graphics and style. Okay, it's not exactly pretty by 2025 standards, but it's not trying to be really. Gun has a gritty, dusty visual style that works well for the world. The environments are fairly sparse, but very functional, and they manage to evoke that Wild West feel without needing ultra-detailed textures. The character models are surprisingly detailed, especially the main cast. Their clothing has some great texture work and animations. While being a little stiff, it does get the job done. There's a bit of a comic book vibe in how things are presented, especially the hood, which is stylized in a way that I quite liked. The cutscenes, at least the ones that I didn't skip, are well framed and edited with a cinematic flair. There's definitely some nice polish here. There's also some really nice graphic animations going on when you shoot people in the head. It reminded me a lot of Soldier of Fortune.
Thank you.
Score, 7 out of 10. Gameplay. In just 20 minutes, I hunted wolves and a bear, I got ambushed on a riverboat, I gunned down about 30 outlaws, I used a cannon to blow up their boats, and I raced a friend on horseback. That is a lot of variety packed into such a short time. The action is immediate and satisfying. Shooting is punchy and fun, slow motion aiming gives you a nice power trip, and the AI enemies put up just enough of a fight to keep things interesting. But then there's the horse. I can't stress this enough. Horse riding in this game is like trying to steer a shopping trolley on ice. The racing section I found to be awkward, clunky, and pretty frustrating. I don't play cowboy games for time trials, but here we are. That aside, the sheer amount of content front-loaded into this introduction is impressive. You're not unlocking features 6 hours in, Gun gives you everything up front, and it lets you play however you want. It's very refreshing. Score, 8 out of 10. Final verdict, is it worth 20 minutes? Look, if you've got 20 minutes and a cowboy itch that needs scratching, then Gun absolutely delivers. You get a taste of everything, hunting, riding, gunslinging, explosions and duels, all wrapped in one of the best soundtracks I've heard from that era. Sure, the controls are a little bit dated and the horse might have a vendetta against you, but once you're blasting bad guys in slow motion with that orchestral music swelling behind you, all is forgiven.
Son of a bitch! They split up. Go after the kid.
Get up here, Cole!
I'm glad I revisited this. It's exactly the kind of game 20 Minute Gamer was made for. It gives you a full experience in record time. Final score, 8 out of 10. Definitely worth your time. Should I be digging up more forgotten PS2 era gems like this one? If you like the video, a like and subscribe would really help the channel out. I post bite-sized reviews of both retro games and newer releases, so there's always something interesting around the corner. Thanks for watching, and remember, you don't need 60 hours to enjoy a good game. Sometimes 20 minutes is all it takes.
Come on, Cole, get that wheel free. Pull out the boards that are locking up the wheel.